Hi, it's Linda coming to you from Valley Stamp and Scrap in Neenah, Wisconsin with another technique video. This one is more of a tool video, and what the focus has been of these videos I've been doing is talk about things that maybe we haven't done for a really long time, whether it's using a technique or using a tool. And for today's video, I want to make a card using a brayer. I use brayers a lot of times in the store and in classes because we're doing art journaling or mixed media where we're spreading paint out, and brayers are great for spreading paint. But I think we forget that they're also kind of cool to play with spreading ink. So let's get started. And I have the paper that I'm going to use today is glossy paper. I think glossy paper is something that we forget about. We used it all the time back in the day, whatever that means. And I think we forget about it now. And glossy paper is what I want to use for the card I'm going to make today. And I'm using 3 of Catherine Pooler's inks that are from her newest release, Martini, Uptown, and Glam. The Glam has a purple feel to it, so obviously I'm very attached to it. So I am going to open this up, and instead of rolling the whole brayer on top of the ink, I'm just going to use one side of it. I've just shifted it so like about half of the brayer is connecting with the ink pad. And when we're using a brayer on an ink pad, or whether we're using it on paint, we don't want to go like this, because then we're just picking up the medium just on one part of the brayer, and we want that ink or paint covering the entire brayer. So we want to do this, and we want to just go in one direction with it to make sure that we get the entire coverage on it. There's a few spots missing on this, but nothing that I'm super concerned with. And starting off the page, just like when we use blending brushes. So we're going to start off the page at the bottom and move up in one direction. And the effect is just really cool as we lay it down. This Glam has almost a raspberry feel to it. It is such a cool color. With using the glossy paper, because glossy is what we call non-porous. That means that the ink isn't going to sink into the paper. It's going to sit right on the top, so it's super shiny. Look how shiny it is. But I do want to hit it with the heat tool just to make sure that it's dry before we proceed on to adding the next color. So I'm just going to hit it with the heat tool. And the next color that I'm going to use on this is the Martini. And I'm going to do the same process. I'm actually going to put that Martini ink pad on my my best craft mat ever, because it's not going to slip as much as it did before. And again, I just want to cover part of that brayer with the ink rather than the whole thing, and going in one direction. And I can see that I've got pretty good coverage around that before I come down here. And again, starting off the page and then going on and coming back and just doing it again. And it's going over a little bit onto that Glam. I don't care. It's giving us a really cool reddish feel to it, even though it's green and that Glam color. It is not, although we talk about purple being the color of sin, and if you're not careful, you can get brown. That's not what we have going on with these two colors. And the same thing again, I'm just going to bring it over and dry it. And I'm just taking my heat tool off onto a piece of scratch paper before I move on to the next color. And then that last color that I want to add to this is the Uptown. Uptown is the color I'm going to use. And I flipped it around so that the end where I want the color to go is over on that right-hand side. And I am going to just use a piece of paper, just a little bit, to hold this in place while I add that last color so that it doesn't slip on me. So again, I have made sure, look, there's a spot right there that missed with the ink. So I'm going to go over it one more time. Are you ready for this? It's going to be really vivid. Look at that color, is so cool, that Uptown. And blending it just a little bit with the Martini next to it. I mean, that didn't take long at all. And we've got the stripes, but the brayer is giving us some really cool texture as the colors greet each other. I don't know why I said greet. Blend. That's what I should say. I don't know if anybody's ever said that the ink colors greet each other. I feel a little silly now. But so that's what we have for the background. And I'm going to take my heat tool again and just dry it just a little bit, because what I'm going to do, this would make a really cool background. It really would. It would make a really cool background. However, I am going to die cut out of it. I'm going to die cut out of it, and I'm using a new die that we have in the store called Peace on Earth. Peace on Earth. And so I'm going to get my big shot right here, and when we're doing something like this, let me shift so it's a little more in the screen. You have to kind of make a decision, where do you want the die cut to be when you make the cut? Is there a color that you want more prominent? In the case of what we did here, I am going to center the die right on that background that we did. So we're getting a little bit of all three of the colors that we used. And I'll run it through and back again just to make sure. Set it back over here. And this is what we've got. Look how cool that looks with doing the die cut out of that glossy paper. And the brayer just is such unique coverage. It is different from using a blending brush. If you said, Linda, why wouldn't I use a blending brush? It's just a totally different way of putting the ink down. So one isn't better than the other, just a little bit different. I am going to use a piece of reminisce paper. I cut down a piece of reminisce paper that we have. And I want to just, speaking of sponging, sponge just a little bit of that glam in onto each one of the corners. Technically, I could use the brayer to do this, but it's just a little bit easier. So I've basically just done some photo corners in each one of them. And I have a piece of purple cardstock, no surprise there. And I'm going to use my Easy Runner. As I am doing this video, Oliver and Sasha have decided that they want to chase each other around the store and wrestle. So if you hear that in the background, that's what's going on. I think that's like with parents when they get on the phone and the kids decide that's when they need help, or they want to be disruptive. So that's what I have going on now. So I've put that the church down from that paper, and here is that die cut, and I have some small foam squares. I'm going to put one on the back of each one of the stars from the die cut. Whoop, and I'm going to drop it, and I am going to put it right up here in the corner just like that. And that die cut, it blends in nicely with the background, but it's got that shimmer to it because we used the brayer and we put the ink down on that glossy paper. So, and again, just sponging a little bit on the edges just to kind of frame it up. So get your brayer out and use it with ink. And you can use it on regular cardstock too. There was just a little more drama with using it on that glossy cardstock. All of the supplies and tools that I used in today's video, you can find at Valley Stamp and Scrap. All you have to do is type in Technique Video 12-2-21, Technique Video 12-2-21, and it's going to bring up, again with my flight attendant thing, it's going to bring up everything that I used in making this card. So go find your brayer and see what kind of fun you can have with ink and brayering. Thanks so much, everybody. Have a good day. Bye-bye now.